And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the end of the year party. Believe it or not, it is December. What are we, 2 weeks into December? There's only 2 weeks left of 2019. And I know that we are all trying not to have a little bit of a crisis over here over how fast the year has gone. But we wanted to wrap up with a little bit of a party, a little bit of a celebration. To talk about how great this year has been, basically. So let's get it kicked off with all things writing and reading. Let's talk about some of our favorite books of 2019 and favorite, let's say favorite thing you've learned about your writing process, or a book you were writing or revising. So I know Megan has to go attend to her baking soon. So I'm going to start from the opposite way. Or no, we'll do Megan first. Is that okay?
Did everyone else know this question was coming? Because I came so late. Okay.
No, yes, I dropped a bomb on you. Favorite book of 2019.
All right. Sorry, guys. I'm a little frazzled. I baked too dangerously. Let's see here. What did I read this year? Isn't that a good question?
Who has one off the bat can jump in too.
I loved Call Down the Hawk. I really enjoyed Call Down the Hawk. And I was really worried I wouldn't, but I really loved it.
Oh, I haven't read it. I'm jealous. All right. Did anyone else have one?
I'm sure I do. I'm trying to find my Goodreads down.
I know, like, this is polarizing, but I really liked the Three Dark Crowns. I've read the first 3 now since the book club day.
I read the second one. I have feelings. I'll message you later.
Yes, message me later. Because I also have a lot of feelings.
My copy of the second one's about to come into the library, so I'm just...
I'm on hold for the 4th one now, and it's like, maybe it's a good thing that it's waiting, because the 3rd wasn't my favorite, but I do want to know how it ends.
I think my favorite of the year, I have to go with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
So that was this year?
That was this year.
That was really good.
I really loved Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. It was so good.
I just bought that one.
Yeah, it was like just the type of like fantasy that I like, I feel like. And I love that she like writes like standalone fantasies, which is nice.
Nice.
I think my favorite this year, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, is definitely a contender. But I think Wild Blue Wonder by Carly Sorosiak wins out for me.
Nice.
Me and Kelly are instantly like, look at this book.
It's a really like beautiful, sad, sort of magical realism, but more on the realistic side of it story. And it's very, very good.
Oh, I love the cover.
Right?
My favorite book I read this year did not come out this year because life has been hard. 2019 has been a year. Holy crap. So I had to resort to like one of the few books I own, but I read A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue for the first time this year, and it is so good, and took a very different turn from what I was expecting when I first picked up the book. But I really like that. So yeah.
It's really hard to try to pin it down to one. I read Wicked Saints this year. I really, really liked that one.
Oh, really? I want to read that one.
Yeah, Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan. It was really good. It was the type of thing that I wasn't sure about the ending, if I liked it or not, but it kept me reading.
I heard that, yeah.
And I will still read the second one, regardless of if I wasn't sure about the ending. So that's probably my favorite one of the year. I also read a lot of really witchy titles. Surprise, surprise. And I just finished, what was it called? The Witches Don't Burn in This One. The Witch Doesn't Burn in This One. And I quite liked that. Yeah. So those are probably my 2 favorites of this year. I wanted to go into something that might be hopefully a little easier of a question for you guys. So what was your favorite TV series or movie of this year.
That is incredibly difficult for me. TV is so important to me.
The last decade, because we talked about the last decade.
Okay, 1 year at a time
Decades
here.
even worse.
1 year.
I devoured Schitt's Creek this year. I had never watched it before this year, and I really loved it.
I can tell you, I thought it was going to be Game of Thrones.
I thought so too.
We have a whole chat on that.
Biggest disappointment of 2019.
Yes.
Well, favorite movie I think would be Endgame for me.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Very predictable, but so great.
I also saw Into the Spider-Verse for the first time this year.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Amazing.
I have a giant Into the Spider-Verse poster right in front of me, and I completely forgot about that as an option.
Yes.
I would say my favorite movie of the year is it's a tie between Into the Spider-Verse and See You Yesterday. And See You Yesterday is on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. There's very few Black lead characters in sci-fi movies, and it's about two Black teenagers that invent time travel to go back in time to save her brother, and it's really good. And Spike Lee produced it, so I love it.
I did love it. Send the recommendation. It is great.
It's so good.
That sounds familiar to me, so I must have recommended it to before.
It's so good. It's so good. And then like TV show wise, like I would probably it didn't start this year, but it ended this year. So I'll have to say Jane the Virgin. That show is like was super instrumental in like my whole like writing journey and like what I want to write, and like my love of TV was really fueled by like that show. So that ending I would definitely say was like I would say that as my favorite.
I have a list in my bullet journal of all the television shows.
Nice.
My bullet journal with all the rest of the year until September is back home, so I only have from September to December, and I'm just like, I don't know if it's any of those.
We've got people in the discussion section sharing their faves of the year as well. If you aren't, definitely let us know what your favorites are as well. We would love to hear them and add them to our list if we have not consumed it yet.
N. Griswold said something that made me want to do a forehead smack because she said Sawkill Girls, and that was absolutely one of my favorites, and I'm mad at myself for forgetting it. Sawkill Girls and
Was it Wilder Girls?
yeah, and Wilder Girls, and
Really good.
did it come out this year or last year?
Did what come out this year?
Powering Gray.
Yeah, that
was
was
this year.
It was like February or January.
Okay, so
I just finished that one like 3 days ago. Yes.
good.
You're okay.
One book that like surprised me by how much I liked it was House of Salt and Sorrows, which like I was excited for because it's like a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, but it actually ended up being like really dark, which I was not like expecting, and I loved it. It was so good. Lots of like creepy deaths and stuff.
Okay, writing that down on my list.
Yeah, right down. It was great.
I have that at home too. I need to read so many.
I think for like movies / TV shows, one I just finished seeing this week was the best. That was Knives Out. I went and saw
So
see that.
good.
So good. So good. Oh my God. My friend is going to go see it this week, and I made her swear to me that once she saw it, she would like phone me. I'm like, phone me immediately. I need to talk to someone about this. Oh, it's so good. I kind of want to go see it again, even though I know that I know what happens in the end, I still kind of want to see it.
Yeah, that's probably my like favorite movie of the second half of the year, although I'm still going to see the second Jumanji movie because I liked the first one so much.
Yes. I actually rewatched that this year.
It's on Netflix now.
Yes, yeah, that's where I watched it, and then I'm gonna go see the second one, I think, as well. It's just a fun one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fun.
Wonderful.
I can't think of anything that I watched this year now.
What is television?
Predictably,
So much TV.
Yeah.
I know. I was just thinking. I wish that like Netflix and Hulu would do what Spotify does and like give you a
Here,
recap.
yeah. Oh my god.
What did I watch?
Love that.
I don't even want to know how much I've watched.
I was gonna say, I
Maybe
don't
not.
know if I want to know like how many minutes I watched because like that's like
If
a lot.
it told you like what you've watched and how many times you've watched it, if it went like back to its backlog stuff, I would be terrified to know how many times I have watched Tangled. Like it is well over 400 times, and I know that for a fact, and I just don't need to actually see it in
Don't need the internet to call you out like that.
Yeah.
I don't need to know how many hours of like The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine I have watched over again.
Oh my god, yeah.
Predictably, I have continued to love The Good Place this year.
Yes.
Like the final season has been
good.
so good so far.
It's so good. I'm not ready. I'm not
I
ready.
have a lot of feelings about this season, and I am looking forward to the day when we can do a chat on it. No,
I only have what's on Netflix. So.
I bought this season on YouTube so I could watch it as it's releasing.
Smart.
Good idea.
Good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I watched all of The Good Place for the first time this year, so that's definitely up there.
There you go.
Did you guys talk about how, and Griswold mentioned Dark?
No, I haven't.
I have also started watching that. I'm only through like the first season, and I believe there are 2 out, and it is so good and so
That's one way to watch
weird
this.
and creepy.
Is it The Dark or just Dark?
Just Dark. It's on Netflix.
Is it like a translated one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think I started watching it, but I do this terrible thing where I'm like half on my phone, half like taking notes about other things.
That's why it's taken me longer to get through it. Because
Yeah.
you have to be paying attention.
You have to be paying attention, yeah. I need to
And
make
the plot is complicated enough.
I need to make a movie date with myself type of thing for some of the weekends where I'm like, okay, I'm not allowed on my phone, or because like I really do feel like TV and movies are a way of getting story delivered just in a different form, and like that's part of our job. I feel like as a writer is
definitely
is to eat as many stories as you can, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in that same vein, I know it's less Aaron's thing, but any favorite games? Because those are also excellent story deliverers.
Yes.
Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild.
I have thoughts.
The only game that matters.
The final season of the Walking Dead game.
I didn't know that was a game.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like my favorite video game of all time. Well, it's kind of The Last of Us. But the final season, like, and it won't come back because Telltale's gone. But
back?
Huh?
I think they might be back.
Skybound technically bought the Walking Dead game franchise, and it might come back, and I'll be kind of sad because it ended
Just announced that they're doing what's it called? The wolf one, the one that's
yeah. I want that back so bad,
and that's confirmed that it's coming out. So there's a chance.
I love Telltale. Well, I guess I can't really say Telltale anymore.
It's Telltale.
Yeah.
I feel you very deeply.
Yeah.
I finally finished The Last of Us this year, so that is officially one of my favorite games ever. It's so good. I also played Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice this year, which is mind-bogglingly good for an indie game. It's an indie game that looks like it's AAA. They just announced a sequel with the new Xbox because it's so good. And it's Viking inspired, but it follows a main character who has like really, really bad psychosis, and so it does like voices. And if you're wearing headphones, like you can hear the voices move around you and stuff, and it's like really disconcerting.
Spooky.
That's so spooky.
Yeah, and it follows Senua as she goes like into Helheim to try and bring back her dead lover.
Is this the one following the Pict Warrior? It's like Celtic inspired. She has the blue tattoos and stuff.
That's a good question.
My husband plays that all the time, and I'm listening to the voices and stuff like coming from the next room. I'm like, okay,
it's so creepy, but it's so good. What else have I played this year? I'm like flipping frantically. I love video games way too much.
The Spider-Man game was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was this year, right? Or was that last year?
No,
No, it's this year.
I got it for Christmas last year, so.
Okay, so
I played it this year, so I'm
It was like end of last
accounting.
year.
Nothing needs to come out
good.
for it to count as your favorite.
Yeah. I think Breath of the Wild came out last year, but I've played it
yeah,
like 3
I
times.
feel like I
Yeah.
played it while I was pregnant, which was a couple.
I think you did.
years.
Something like that.
I'm trying to think of what else I have played.
So this
so
isn't a
much this
video
year.
game. Yeah, while you're thinking.
Mhm.
I played a board game this year that made me sad. But I played Pandemic's Season 1, their legacy game, and it was incredible, like amazing. You should all play it. It's like made to be played over 12 months, and you play it once a month, and there's like this whole story, and it was so good. And I played Season 2 this year, and the pacing was off, and I'm so sad. But I'm
No.
probably still going to buy Season 3 and hope that it's better.
What's it
Because I
called?
love those games. Pandemic Legacy. So Pandemic is like a regular board game.
Right, yeah.
They expanded it so that it's meant to be played like once a month. And so a group of friends and I, we got it so that it would force us to get out of our houses once a month and see each other. And Season 1 was so good. Like, if you haven't played it yet, highly recommend.
Why are there two different colors? Can you explain this to me?
They're the same game. It's
What?
just a different cover.
Why?
Oh,
I researched it for so long because I was like, is there something different? And I couldn't find anything that was different.
that's neat.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
And now I just need some friends that are local to play it with.
I was about to say, it must be nice to have friends to play games with.
Yeah.
Anyone have any more final games that was their favorite of this year?
Yes, Helen.
I mean,
Oh,
The Sims 4 technically came out 5 years ago, but expansion packs come out every year. So I'm gonna say that. I got at university, Discover University, and I love that my Sims get to get all the degrees that I didn't. So it's so nice.
Okay, I just realized that Breath of the Wild actually came out 2 years ago, and I'm like, wow.
I think it could be anything we read or watched.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Not you, not here.
Yeah.
I just had it and it's gone. It was in my brain and it left. What did I?
No.
I mean,
Spit it out. It's fine.
I've been playing Dead by Daylight for 2 years. It's a great game, but the devs are terrible. That's pretty the community agrees on that, but the community's toxic. So just as an FYI, because it's an online game, so if you don't want to deal with toxic people, do not touch that game with a 10-foot pole.
like most games?
Online competitive component, people are just terrible. But I'm really mad that I thought of something and it's gone. Oh, I replayed Dragon Age Inquisition this year, and it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I love it. There we go. Life is
Yes.
I did play Mass Effect 3 this year, which was my first non-Zelda game because I only play Zelda games, and I enjoyed it. But then I went back to Breath of the Wild afterwards.
Yeah. I've been working on my speed running of Breath of the Wild.
Oh my gosh! I'm currently trying to find all of the Korok seeds.
No. I
That's my
thought
new
about
goal.
that once and I was like, I don't hate myself. I'm not gonna do that.
I'm like, I've done everything else in this game. Time to find all the Korok seeds while I wait for the sequel.
I also replayed Pokemon Pearl this year, and it's a very good Pokemon game. Okay, I think I'm set. I've played other games, but they were mediocre. So,
Do we want to talk a little bit about writing things? We won't touch too much on goals.
I'm kidding.
I don't think you get away from it that easily. We won't touch too much on goals for 2020 because we've got a whole chat about that next year, beginning of next year.
Next year.
Which is in 2 weeks. So do we want to talk about maybe something that either we struggle with and overcame to do with writing, or something you learned about your writing process, something that a single book taught you, something like that, or the best advice you followed successfully this year, anything along those lines? If anyone has one right off the bat, jump on in. But I do have something right away while other people think about it. I went through a very rough rewriting process this year, twice actually, though I think a lot of the first rewrite was 2018. I think it's all blurring together at this point. But I think I learned to trust myself more with my writing, because at the end of the book, I knew I wasn't happy with it. And I turned it in kind of just like crossing my fingers and hoping that it would be okay. And it wasn't. And I kind of knew it wasn't going to be. So I think just learning to trust my instincts from now on, and knowing that I do subconsciously know when a book isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was gonna say trusting my instincts was a big thing that I learned this year. Especially for me, a big part of it is like kind of just like understanding and realizing that it's okay if like you realize however far into the book that it's not working, and like going back and fixing it is okay. Because I think there's so much taught in writing to like, don't look back, just keep writing forward, just keep going and putting down new words. And that I realized this year that doesn't work for me. And like that it's better if I'm 20,000 words into something and it's not working, it's better to stop and go back and rewrite those 20,000 words first than to get all the way to 100,000 and have to rewrite everything, you know? So yeah, being able to say it's not me being overly picky, it's actually that this story is not working, and like learning to like trust that I can tell the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like 2019 was a weird year for me writing wise, because I started the year with a very, very young baby, and my book did not sell last year. And so it was like this long process of trying to get this new book that I've been working on to where I wanted it to be. And it was not going at the speed I would have preferred. And then my agent had to make the very tough decision, but did ultimately make the decision to stop repping the genre that I write. And so it was kind of a lot of things all piling up into this, like, do I even like writing? I didn't have an idea for most of this year, like didn't have a new book idea. But the end of the year has kind of been this just like snowball of falling back in love with writing. And like, I think the biggest thing I've been feeling as the year is coming to a close is like that it's good to take a step back and try and distance yourself from the industry part when you are writing and revising a book that has not gone out yet. For the longest time, I was like so stressed out about like, am I revising this well enough so that I can go on sub with it? And then it was like, am I revising this well enough so that agents will want it? Well, maybe I shouldn't add this POV, because what if agents don't like that? And it's like, it's better to just take the risk and write the story that you're enjoying writing than to spend so much time stressing about like, will it sell? Will it get me an agent? Will it do this? Like those things, they'll happen eventually, but
is it right for the market?
Yeah.
I cannot even tell you how much I like get what you're saying when it's like about not thinking too hard about like, is this person gonna like it? Is that person gonna like it? Like, yeah, I'm trying to revise the second book, the rewritten one I was talking about. And yeah, I'm so in my own head being like, what if she hates this? What if she hates that? And like trying so hard to like pull myself out of that mindset, but it's real hard.
Because you're like not letting yourself think about like, well, do I hate this or do I like it?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's so hard. But I think everyone's that's why writing book 2 or doing revisions on book 1 when you know you're going to send it back to your agent, everyone talks about how hard that is. And I don't think you can truly understand that until it's happening and you're like, oh shoot, this is really hard.
Yeah. It was like, obviously it was really nice having an agent and knowing that I would be able to like send it to her and get her feedback. But also there was like this moment of like, oh, no one cares if I screw up this book right now.
And you have whatever time you need to make it so
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly for me translated to it's taking me less time now than it did when I was so worried about hitting the timeline.
It's
I'm
amazing.
going to take my pastry out of the oven.
Oh.
I'll be right back.
Now I want pastry.
Always.
Anyone else
Want pastry?
I'm sure all of you want pastry.
This year, I shelved a project that I've been working on forever, and I plan on maybe going back to the general like concept of it again. But I had just worked on it and like reworked on it and like was just reworking on like the same parts like over and over again, and I just couldn't get past it. And then I got extremely depressed this year and didn't write at all for several months. Didn't do much of anything for several months. And as I started to feel better working on that same story, I just felt like it was from such a different part of my life. I just couldn't work on it anymore. So I started something new, and I really like my new thing. So that's good.
Yay.
That's awesome. That's so amazing. Yeah, like sometimes just taking a step back from it, and like Megan was saying, allow yourself to like have a break and to get excited about things again. Because yeah, when you get wrapped up in like, sometimes for me too, if I get wrapped up in nano or I get wrapped up in publishing or some way of like driving myself, the story doesn't seem like that fun anymore, you know?
And it's fine, yeah, when a lot of time goes by on a project, like as a writer, and also just like your like tastes change too. And so like something that like you really loved writing 4 years ago, now you're like, I don't want to write that anymore. Which is why like I learned a long time ago that you should never be like, oh, I'm not ready to write this book idea and I'll just wait until another day, and then like you're not interested in it anymore. Because yeah, it's like I think there comes a point if you've been working on one book for too long that you just have to like put it away and move on to something
Also,
new.
I think a bigger picture thing there for me in the same vein is stepping away a little bit from YA in general for me. Of like, I don't think that's all I want to do anymore. And I've like taken some time to clear out the YA books that are like all over my Goodreads TBR. I'm like, I don't really want to read this anymore. Like I did, but there's a lot of other books and a lot of other genres that it's okay if I explore that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I want to talk about as well. Like a little bit, like I said, not too much. We won't go into it because I know we have a whole chat in 2020. But like the types of goals we might be interested in making in 2020. And one of mine is definitely going to be like goals related to branching out, especially of my comfort zone in particular. Like, because I am very much like, I read and write YA fantasy and that's it. But I don't think that that's necessarily helpful to growing you as either a person or a writer, or having your career grow and writing the best stories you can. So I'd really like to get into like some other stuff like thrillers or something. Read a lot more thrillers, read a lot more mysteries, maybe some sci-fi. I don't know. We'll see.
It's like even if you never write anything different, like if you're comfortable writing a certain thing, I think reading outside of like
Absolutely.
what you normally write can be really helpful, because like a fantasy can have elements of a thriller in it. It can have like other things in it. So it can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's something I definitely want to do in 2020 is get like a list of probably books that people I trust really liked in various other genres and start branching out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Megan, while you were gone, we were talking about not specific goals that we're going to make in 2020, but like the direction of our goals. What types of things or goals are going to be related to. And I said mine was probably branching out in a lot of different ways in 2020. I don't know if anyone else has any general ideas of goal ideas.
This isn't like it's a goal, but it's not a writing related goal. So I guess I'll share this one here in like the next chat. I'm starting a podcast next year.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Extremely excited. I bought my domain name. I have my podcasting appointment coming next week, and I'm just really, really, really excited about it. And I just can't wait.
Yes, I'm so stoked. Love a good podcast.
Yes.
You can
that you can all follow it once the link.
Yeah, no, seriously. I will make sure everybody knows. You're gonna get sick of like links and stuff. I promise everyone will know.
Okay, what's the name of the podcast? Give us a little pitch, Desiree.
Okay, my podcast is called Bingeology, a Study in Streaming. And each week, me and a guest will discuss a different movie or television program that is available on a streaming service with a focus on original content. So, yeah.
Yes.
So exciting. It's great that it's on some kind of streaming platform because that's so accessible to most people. like everyone knows what Stranger Things is for the most part. So tune in and know what we're talking about.
And there's so much now. Like the crazy thing is like now, especially going into 2020, it's not just Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon Prime anymore, and even Disney Plus. Like there's HBO is like, and then there's
HBO is doing so much.
And, like there's another one. Like Walmart has their own streaming service that they bought and like will be releasing more stuff. Yeah,
there's like Facebook Watch.
Yeah, Facebook Watch, Apple TV. Yeah, I'm not excited about buying all of these platforms. But
oh my gosh. So and somebody said to me that like Netflix just recently teamed up with someone.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nickelodeon.
Because I guess they were like, oh, Disney
like, Plus is like so huge.
Disney's a threat to them, so they had to team up with like a big kids content creator, is what I would guess.
And they lost like all the Disney movies that they used to have on Netflix and like the Marvel shows they had and stuff. So.
Yeah, the contract ends in 2020, I believe. So they still have to like the new stuff. Like they have to put it on Netflix for a certain amount of time. But after that, it's all getting taken off and put on Disney Plus.
They're gonna lose a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
Which I could see how that would be stressful. For me personally, I still use Netflix a lot more.
Yeah.
But
yeah, are you guys planning to get Disney Plus or no?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
I got it for free through I have Verizon, and they gave me
I just
free for a year.
I was like, and a year-long subscription.
Yeah, we paid for a year. So we just paid for the year. We've been like going back and watching all the Marvel movies in order from the beginning, which has been cool.
Yeah, I'm going to watch. So another one of my like goals is I want to do more videos on my personal channel that are not directly related to writing, but like just nerd stuff in general. And one of my biggest failures as a nerd is I have not seen Star Wars. So I'm going to watch all of them and vlog the entire thing. So
that's awesome. Yes, I'm here for your first time Star Wars reaction. I'm really excited now. That's awesome. I always want to be like that person that like lingers in the corner while new people read Harry Potter. Because I'm kind of your reactions. I'm just like, do you like this part? Are you at this part yet?
That behavior for me though is why my husband stopped reading physical books and listens to audiobooks on his drives now. He knows he can turn it off right when he gets home, and I can't just
like reading over his shoulder. Like, what part are you at?
He was reading the Raven Cycle series this year, and he has read the first two. And like every time he came home, I was like, "So what part are you at? How's it going? What do you think?" And he was like, "I'm gonna have to start staggering what days I listen to this, so you don't know that I'm listening to it every day."
Oh man. I should also mention, I forgot, sorry guys. If you have questions during this chat, feel free to ask any writing related questions because we're just partying here. So it's no sweat to answer questions. We do have one from Firespawn. I don't know if anyone's done any research on this, but does anyone know how I would go about writing a story for a comic book instead of a novel? That's actually a question I would love to know the answer of too, because I'd love to do that someday.
I don't have any like specific knowledge about this, but I know that Neil Gaiman in his Sandman comics, I think it's in volume 3 at the back, he has examples of like the scripts basically that he would send to his illustrators. And that's how he writes those comics, is like in a script format. Lots of people, like I want to say I heard this from Babs Tarr, but I'm not 100% sure, who is writing the current Batgirl comics, and she also has a different set of comics called Motor something like that. I'm a really bad Babs Tarr fan. But I believe she writes it basically like, or no, does she write and illustrate, or is she just the illustrator? Whoever she's working with, if it's someone she's working with or if it's her, I can't remember, but they basically send her like it's like a short form, like a short story, where like the dialogue is really like it's all in bold and everything so that she knows that these are like the words being said, and then all of the other stuff is just I'm sorry, I got very distracted.
Yeah, same. Yeah, big same.
But all the other stuff is like for her to have information about what needs to be in the panels. But it's always going to be different depending on who's writing and who you're illustrating with, because some illustrators need you to go more into detail about where you want panels to be and what you want panels to look like, whereas others want as much freedom for that as they can have and just want that script format. So honestly, it depends a lot on who your illustrators for a comic book would be, and you would have to figure out how to do it together.
Yeah, I was. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, just like with publishing novels, there are lots of different ways to publish comics, and so definitely research what method you would like to use, whether it's through like straight up like webtoon, webcomics, versus wanting to write comics for a bigger company. And then,
Yeah, Vanessa says you could write and illustrate a comic book yourself.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
But if you don't know how to draw,
Yeah, that's true.
like me.
Some of my favorite like online comics aren't like really elaborate art. They're like black and white line characters with like just giant circle heads, and it's adorable.
Yeah,
Like the
it definitely is an easier process if you can write and illustrate, because then you don't have to worry about finding an illustrator.
And you don't have to worry so much about like how you're writing it, as long as you know how you're telling the story with the panels and like corresponding with the dialogue that you're giving, as opposed to like working with someone else where you have to like find the way that works best for both of you to actually produce good content. Comics are hard.
Yeah, I was actually interesting, not this weekend, but the last I went to a film and TV kind of con thing for people that are interested in getting into script writing. But they also talked a lot about graphic novels in a couple of panels, because a few of them were talking about cartoonists and illustrators and people that do like storyboarding and stuff. So that was really interesting. And I was also really, so you can sign up for a course like that. But actually, back to what we were talking about previously, I was very interested to see how much all of them were talking about how the film industry was kind of like in overload status because of HBO and Netflix and like all the streaming services demanding so much content, that like the film industry is like badly needing people. So which is great for us people who are maybe going into script writing or something as well. So that's actually something I kind of want to look at in taking a script writing class. I don't know about the rest of you. I know that Desiree is kind of into that idea. Or
I'd love to, which is it's daunting.
It's so I look at the way that they have to boil things down into like an actual script, and how you have to strip out all of the information basically, and all of your like what your character's feeling and thinking. None of that can go on the page. I might take a course though. Funny. Is anyone thinking of doing anything in 2020, like master classes or courses like that along those lines, or getting into something different like screenwriting or comic book writing or anything fun like that?
I'd love to get another year of masterclass, but I was like looking to see if anyone was doing like there's a 2-for-1 thing. So I was like, oh, if I could do that, and it's like half the price, and then you get all of the courses for a whole year. Like, well, that could be a little better.
I'm looking for them to upload more though. Like they've got a lot of really good writers on there giving math accounts, but I keep waiting for them to upload more like fantasy ones specifically.
There's some great script writing ones, if that's the thing you're interested in.
Oh, I should do that then. Oh, I should really, I'm dumb. I should look into that because I didn't even think about that fact that there would be. Whoop, I'll do that. Because, yeah, I have a couple months left on my subscription, I think.
Have you watched like all the writing ones?
No, I've kind of like tested a bunch of them. Like I've watched about 4 or 5. Neil Gaiman is why I signed up for it. And I watched all of his like a couple of times over. But I also really liked, surprisingly enough, James Patterson. Is that how you say his name?
Patterson.
Yeah, I really liked him, and I'm not a thriller writer, but he was a very good teacher, I felt like.
I really like Judy Blume. I thought she was great.
Yeah, I liked her too. And then I watched R.L. Stine, which I liked his teaching, but I also found him a little amusing because he reminds me of that meme. There's like old man shaking fist at clouds. It's a little bit crotchety, but also it was a really good class. So yeah, so I'll probably look at the and there's some marketing ones I think as well from different various.
Yeah, there's business ones, like entrepreneurship ones. I'm interested in all the things, so.
Oh, I don't think I'd be able to wrap my mind around the business ones.
I think one of the classes I'm taking next semester is it's like writing young adult genre fiction. If I remember correctly, as I'm like frantically opening up my stuff to double check that. But like I'm excited for that. That'll be fun.
I'm always looking into those college classes that it's like continuing education. Because I would love to do like a college course type of thing, but like not one that's like a degree or whatever, you know.
I love online courses that like college courses tend to just slow my brain down and I can't get through it. Whereas like there's like the skill-based online courses that are getting right into like, here's how you do the thing. That I love.
Yeah, the one thing when I look into these like school college courses is like, even if it's like a continuing education one, it's like I feel like people have told me before the homework kind of stifles your creativity, so to speak. Like you have so much homework after your school that you don't really want to write anything extra. So I feel like if I did something like that, I would get very frustrated with the homework aspect of it.
It's not terrible, at least like with the experience I've had at my university, because my profs, both of my creative writing profs this semester are very like, they just kind of like give you tools that you can use, and then they're like, write whatever you want as long as it's within this like word count limit, so that we don't have to read like 75 students writing novels in a first year course, like basically. So like my fiction prof this semester, like we had people writing horror, we had people writing fantasy, we had people writing contemporary, like very literary fiction, all of it. It was just like, hey, as long as it's within the 1,200 word limit, write what you want. So it wasn't like super stifling. It was just the word count that was hard to hit. But yeah, I enjoy the courses. As long as you have a good prof. If you have like a really terrible creative writing prof, then it sucks.
I just know from like you and Kyra and like when Erica, one of our old WordNerds, was going to school as well, like it sounds so overwhelming to me.
That's like if you're doing like a full degree and it's
That's true.
You know, if you're just like going and taking a class, it's not going to be overwhelming.
Very true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know.
To be fair, Kyra was getting like a PhD, so that was a lot.
Very true. Yeah. Well, I talked to, when I was at the TV course thing, I talked to it was like the university writing course, the head of it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, when we get you to take the poetry course," and I was like, "What now?"
Yeah, that's a course I had to do this semester, was poetry and nonfiction.
Yeah, that's not happening. The funny thing is, I was like, "Oh," I made like a noise when he said poetry, like not a good noise. And he was like, "Oh, do you hate poetry?" And I was like, "Maybe." And he's like, "Don't tell anyone. I really hate poetry too." I'm like, "You're the whole head of the writing department."
Yeah, it's only I think the only time you're forced to take it is first year, so it's at first year level, which is nice, because you don't have to be good at it or enjoy it. You just have to do it. And like, I was pleasantly surprised by the nonfiction side of it. So,
okay. That is actually something I would like to get into in 2020, is reading some nonfiction, because I think I have read maybe. Oh, what's that? Oh,
I would highly recommend it. It is. I had to read it for that class, and it's a Canadian author, and it's about like sexual orientation and gender identity.
Oh, nice.
And it's in a memoir. It's a memoir told through short stories about their life. It's great. 10 out of 10.
See, I have read one nonfiction book this entire year of 2019, and I'm only halfway through it right now. It's taken me that long to read a nonfiction book. So
I would like to burn more things down in 2020. I don't know.
Burn more things down.
Yeah.
I'd like to set more things on fire, I think.
No, I'm very angry right now, and I would like to use my anger in 2020 in ways that help people, and not be quiet about things that make me angry.
I like that you want to channel your anger into positive things.
Yes.
Or setting certain people on fire.
I mean, that could be positive depending on who. Just saying.
Yeah. Yes. It is true. It is a fact. Firespawn, speaking of, Firespawn says, I might try to do a webtoon. Does anyone know how a webtoon works?
No idea. My knowledge of comics stops at.
Yeah, I am so technophobic that I would be like, well, you could draw it by hand and then scan it onto your computer. I'm sure that's not the way you do a webtoon. I do know some artists that have like an iPad almost type thing, but it's specifically for drawing.
A drawing tablet.
Yeah.
You can also do it on an iPad.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I know like on webtoons, like there's like the discover section, and I think that's just where like anybody is like uploading things, I think. But I'm not really sure. I read a few webtoons, but I haven't looked into it too much.
That's the great thing about web comics, is that you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a gatekeeper. You don't need any of that. You can do your own thing, upload it where you want, and potentially it could take off, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that happens more frequently with web comics than like content posted online in other forms. Seems like.
Definitely with any content that you want to be posting online, make yourself involved in that community. Make sure if you want to be on Webtoon, start reading a lot of different Webtoons and commenting on them and getting really involved, so that you're like putting into the community what you are hoping to also get from it.
All right, old person question. What is this? Because I thought it was like a more generic thing, but it sounds like it's
it's an app/website.
Yes.
And so they're actually like, the webtoons are pulling up. It's like kind of in a way, a unique webcomic format, because it's like a scrolling version. So like the way you format your webtoon, you have to be able to like make it so people can like scroll through rather than panels being side by side. It's really cool. People who are like good at making them, they can be really cool. So yeah, it's a whole app of like webcomics basically. It's, if you've seen the ads for like the Lore Olympus one, for the like,
it's my favorite.
Oh, good. It's like, I think that one's like the reason that webtoons has gotten so popular. But so it's just like a whole app of like people's webcomics that they like update weekly.
Yes. Not Even Bones has a webcomic, Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaefer.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
So it is, I think Not Even Bones, Fever King and The Weight of Our Sky.
Book also.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
I'm pretty sure.
But isn't it that you can also post your own? Like you wouldn't have to. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah, like Lore Olympus is like original content.
Yeah.
It's like a Hades and Persephone.
The way that
So
they did the way that they did the Not Even Bones comic, like the first panel I looked at, I was like,
so cool.
blown away. Oh my gosh. Like just the way that the artist did it, so it looks like you're standing like on the edge of a balcony looking into the autopsy room. I was like, oh my God, this is really cool.
So cool.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not sure what a webtoon is or what the website is, go check it out because it is very, very cool.
Yeah, I have it just the app on my phone.
I do not have it on my phone because I already get sucked into my phone like really, really badly.
But it's books. It's reading.
That's true. That's true. Better use of my time than Twitter. Hey, there goes another 2020 goal. Is I really need to.
See, I'm the opposite. I want to be on Twitter a little bit more because this year I pretty much stopped all social media for most of this year, and I would like to start getting back on it a little bit more.
The thing is that I'm not doing anything constructive on Twitter. I'm not like posting updates or like looking at helpful writing tweets. I'm like scrolling through and being like, look, what did Trump do today? Like that's not helping anybody. You know, or like looking at whatever awful news is now happening and when I should be working, you know. So I would like to like filter it somehow or like make it so that from like my work hours it shuts down. I know there's apps that you can get. So I want to do something like that because 2019 I spent way too much time scrolling aimlessly through websites. So well, we are almost coming up on an hour. Yeah. Don't know if we have any more comments.
Jody asked a while back if anyone had read Well Met, and I haven't, but the author was in my Pitch Wars year, and it's very much on my TBR. I didn't read a ton of romance this year. I read a lot more last year.
I read it this week, I think. It was very good.
Yes.
It is an adult romance, so if you're like not into adult content, then beware, but it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. And it's like centered around like a Renaissance fair, which was really fun.
Oh, nice. I would really like to read more romance, actually, now that I think about it. Because when I do read it, I actually really usually enjoy it, is what I've realized. I just am not like naturally drawn to it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna. There's a whole bunch of really good looking queer books coming out in 2020, and a lot of them are romance. Yes. So I'm really excited about that. So many good ones.
Yes.
Does like as a final kind of fun question, does anyone have any sequels of books coming out in 2020 you're excited about?
The sequel to Crier's War.
I want to read that one. I haven't read it yet.
It's on my shelf at home.
So good. And I need to see
on that question.
I haven't read Wicked Saints yet, but I'm interested in Ruthless Gods just because I love how beautiful the covers are. Like honestly, I'm just like I want them on my shelf side by side.
I know they're gorgeous.
What? Oh, if the new Call Down the Hawk book comes out next year, then I'll want that.
Yeah, I want that too.
Oh, I think the final Queen's Thief book by Megan Whalen Turner comes out next year, and I am sad and excited. It's been like a 22-year long series.
I thought that was this year. Like, I thought you were.
Comes out next year, I think.
And I think the second book to Devouring Grey comes out next year.
Yes.
I want that one. I want Ruthless Gods as well. What else comes out next year that I was really excited about? Oh, the sequel. It's my book, but I've already read that one. Also, the Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. The second book comes out next year, I believe. So that's really exciting as well. So many good books.
The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one is the poetry book. So I think.
Yeah, I think it's These Witches Don't Burn. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
So I pictured the cover and I was trying to remember what the title was.
The Witch Doesn't Burn. This one already has a sequel.
These Witches Don't Burn, the first one, is the one that I read this year that I really, really liked. And This Coven Doesn't Break, I think.
I think so.
Yes. I think
Coven
that's
won't break.
oh We Hunt the Flame sequel.
Yes. That got pushed up.
They got pushed back.
Pushed back, yes.
I'm still the cover for it.
Yes. Oh my god, the first one was so good.
I know.
Oh yes. I'm so excited. I think I'm gonna reread the first one and then be all stoked for the second one when it comes out. Ugh. And Hafsa's just one of those authors that I'm just like, I freaking
She's
just
so
love her.
wonderful.
So sweet.
She's just like such a pure soul.
So amazing.
Should be protected at all costs.
I don't know if you're following it already or if you care, but there is a We Hunt the Flame Incorrect Quotes Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I follow it.
It's so good.
So good. I love it so much. Well, does anyone have any final thoughts or any questions that I missed in the comments?
It was a year.
Yes.
There
In
were
summary-
books.
In summary, we read books.
2K20.
We read books. It was a year. Misty Kate says, what I got from this chat is that I need to read more in 20.
Honestly, same.
Same.
Yeah.
I did not read enough this year.
I'm
I
6
know.
books away from 100.
Oh my gosh.
I have 2 more weeks to read 6 books.
I really feel like I another thing I want to do in 2020, apparently I have so many things, is start keeping better track of what I read, because I'm looking back and I'm like, I know I didn't read a lot. And I want to get better at it, but I don't know like how badly I did because I didn't keep track.
What I've learned is that it doesn't matter how many books you read in a year, you still feel like you haven't read enough. I've read 94 and I'm like, I'm still so behind. There's so many things I haven't gotten to.
I know. And I still feel guilty from like a few years back because people still mention these books that like famous YA books that I'm like, I am shame. I have not read this book.
Yep.
Yeah. So many titles.
I feel attacked.
Yeah. My Goodreads goal was 24 books because I came off of a really big reading slump last year and I knew it was probably going to continue into this year. And I think I'm going to hit it, but I will have read like 9 of those books this month because suddenly I wanted to read all the things. So.
Oh, I think I mentioned this while you were doing baking stuff, but you should read House of Salt and Sorrow by
yes,
I think
talking about that.
it's like it was much creepier than I expected. So.
Yes,
I love the title. And apparently there are lots of murdery deaths.
Yeah, there was like creepy death because it's like the sisters start dying off in like creepy ways. So.
Okay, Megan, like I should have got a screenshot of you making that evil, delighted face in your cute Christmas sweater.
I'm wearing it the second week in a row.
Her little Peter Pan collar. So adorable.
Evil Megan in a Christmas sweater.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, 2020, more books. That's gonna be our whole chat next year.
I want to read more books that I like because I realized as I was going through my Goodreads today, I read so many 2 and 3 star books, and it's like, like 3 stars not terrible. Like I enjoyed those books. It's not like that's bad, but also like I want to read more 4 and 5 star books, and I feel like that's why I feel like I didn't read that much this year, even though I've read like
There's
60
nothing
books.
wrong with like putting it down. I have a huge problem with that still. Sometimes I realize because like I'm one of those people who's like I used to like plow my way through a book even if I hated it, and I realized I was doing that last night. Literally last night, I'm like, I'm forcing myself to read this, and I need to put it down.
Now that I like read for my job and I read 100 books in a year, I'm like, if I'm not enjoying something and I'm like 50 pages in and I'm not enjoying it, I can put it down, like, and move, because I have a cart full of books at work. I can put it down and move on to the next one. And like it was like that. Like last year was kind of my big like revelation of that, and like I don't have to read a book just because I feel like I have to. Like, oh, everybody's talking about this book, I have to read it. Like, if I don't feel like reading it, I don't have to read it. Because last year I had a lot of books where I was just kind of like, like it was really well written and a good book, but like
Yeah,
I'm not raving about
finding
it.
the balance between like books everyone's talking about because they're buzz books and books everyone's talking about because they're great.
They're
'Cause, like I
great,
didn't read Evelyn Hugo the year it came out because I'm like, oh, everyone says it's amazing, but that's not for me. It
Yeah.
was.
It was great.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of buzz books, I have Priory of the Orange Tree on my dining room table right now, and I want to read it, but I'm also very intimidated.
I want to read it, but it's so big.
It's so big.
I got it from the library over in the spring, and I remember being like, "Oh, everyone talks about how big it is. It's gonna be fine." And then it was there in person. I was like, "This is a brick."
No, I checked it out at work.
This is like a cinder block.
I checked it out at work, and I had it sitting on my desk for a few days, and everyone that walked past my desk was like, "Oh my gosh!" Every time.
I brought it to work when I was working in the office at my motel, and my boss's son likes to come and hang out with me in there, and he's 6. He's turning 7 soon. Oh no. But he literally came in and saw it sitting there, and he was just like, "What?" And I was like, "It's a book." And I flipped it open. He was like, he was just like, but it's huge. And I was like, "Uh-huh."
So intimidating.
I'm
gonna read it though.
I will not be reading the physical copy. I can tell you that much. It'll be an audiobook or it'll be an ebook.
I think I have the ebook, so I might just read the ebook because it'll be easier to like convince myself that it's not that big.
Yeah.
All right. I think I got all of the comments. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us for our end of the year party. We're very much looking forward to seeing you all again in 2020. Let me know if there's anything I'm missing before we sign off here.
When are we back?
We're coming back on January the 5th.
Yeah.
January
We'll have a content coming at you over the break still, so definitely keep an eye on our channel, like and subscribe and all that.
Yeah, come back for some fun Christmassy stuff in the breaks. We'll still be there, sort of, in spirit. And please like and subscribe, as the banner said. And thank you all, and Merry Christmas and Happy Yuletide. Good night.
Bye.